You're listening to Himalayan Adventure by Evan Vale. Chapter 4.
Travel agents often pitch Nepal as a great holiday destination by describing it as a place of mystery. Which is true, from the perspective of a traveler from the Western world. Nepal is a mysterious place filled with new and sometimes startling foods and culture. However, it is also true that Nepal is, in some ways, a complete mystery even to the Nepalese themselves. That's because there are certain things about their own country that they simply don't know about. At the same time as Burnmaster was readying his traveling companions to leave the airport, two of those things were sitting in an old car parked in the shadows and watching the airport's exit doors carefully with their enormous crystal blue eyes. Those eyes were larger than a human's and the same color as the icy peaks that surrounded the creature's home in the distant mountains. The faces were covered with short, velvety fur, mostly white with symmetrical patterns of swirling black on the cheeks. Their noses were small with large, round nostrils like a gorilla. When the creatures smiled, 2 rows of teeth were revealed, larger than a human's and sharper. Over the years, scientists have found a number of ways to distinguish humans from the apes. Sometimes they point to man's tool-making abilities, his intelligence, his capacity for language, or even his abundance of facial expression. None of those distinctions apply anymore. These creatures are smart, expressive, technologically minded, and they can talk. They have their own language and they know how to speak ours. The world thinks they are nothing more than Nepalese folklore, and that is the way they like it. They know what we know. They are as smart as us and physically superior. They are the world's best-kept secret. They are Yeti. Zaw was lying on the back seat of the car, with one clawed foot propped against the dusty window of the rear door. He was tapping the claw on the window to the beat of the music he was listening to from the headphones on his MP3 player. He was wearing an old pair of baggy jeans and a red jacket with the hood pulled down over his furry face to conceal his features. The old canvas sneakers that he hated to wear were discarded on the floor of the car. As all Yeti were covered from head to toe in fur, the clothes were unnecessary for warmth but vital for disguise when they were in Kathmandu. In the darkness of the car, he could pass for human, except for the furry, clawed foot tapping on the glass. His twin sister, Abby, was sitting in the front passenger seat of the car and also wearing a pair of jeans, an old pair of sneakers, and a hooded jacket. "Come on, Zaw, put your shoes back on," she said. "Someone will see us." Zaw didn't hear her the first time and she had to give his leg a poke to get his attention. Then the bare foot sank away from the top of the rear window. As Abby turned back towards the front of the car, she saw Zaw do something that made her wrinkle up her nose in disgust. "Zaw," she exclaimed, "did you just pick your nose with your index claw?" Zaw realized he'd been caught, and his finger disappeared from his nasal region in a flash. Taking the earphones from his ears, he said, "What are you looking at me for? You should be watching the airport exit for the guy we're looking for." "I am watching the exit," Abby replied. "I just turned around to tell you to get your foot down and I saw you pick your nose with your claw. Yuck." Zaw sat up, crossed his arms and replied, "I did not pick it, I scratched it. It was itchy." "No, you didn't, I saw you pick it," she retorted. "That's disgusting, I hope you clean that claw." Zaw leaned forwards and paused between the front seats in the car. In the moonlight, his furry face looked pale and ghostly with 2 bright blue eyes blinking languidly like an owl. Turning to the human boy sitting in the driver's seat, he said, "I'm not saying I did, but even if I did, it's not so weird. Humans pick their noses using their fingernails, don't they?" Pemba was 15 years old and had been living with Yeti all of his life. He was a local Nepalese teenager whose father had many years ago been a Sherpa and climbed the Himalayas with European travelers. Perhaps it was because Pemba had no brothers or sisters that he got along so well with Abby and Zaw. He had grown up with the 2 Yeti and counted them as family. If there was ever a time when it felt strange that his family included creatures from another species, then he couldn't remember it. He was aware of the differences between humans and Yetis, but he never really noticed them anymore, except when one of the fur balls used a claw to pick its nose. Pemba looked pointedly at the clawed hand resting on the back of his seat. "Is that the claw you used to pick your nose?" he asked. "Like you never picked your nose before," Zaw declared indignantly. "Humans use handkerchiefs, not fingers," Pemba smirked. "If you had claws like us, you'd change your tune," Zaw said. To change the topic, he asked, "Have you got a picture of the target?" Abby unfolded a piece of paper that she found on the dashboard. It was a color photograph of Tom Burnmaster, just his head and shoulders and smiling broadly for the camera, an Employee of the Month picture that companies display in their reception areas. She showed it to Zaw. "I think he's kind of good looking," she mused. I like his blue eyes. Zaw leaned forwards and removed his hood so that he could get a better look at the photo Abby was holding. He's a bit old for you, Abby, he observed, and the wrong species. I didn't say I was going to ask him out or anything, she retorted. Whatever, Zaw muttered. He looked at the photo with contempt. This guy doesn't look very tough, he said. Why the heck does he think he can catch a yeti? Taking care of him should be a piece of cake. Maybe, and he probably looks older than he does there, Pemba explained. That photo is from 5 years ago. It's the most recent one I could find on the internet. I got it off the National Zoo of Vavu website or something. I think this guy works there. Zaw shook his head. It's so inconsiderate of people not to put up-to-date photos of themselves on the internet, he said. How are we supposed to stalk them if we don't know what they look like? Pemba grinned. Haha, very funny. What I want to know is how he got here so fast. Coming from Vavu, it should have taken him weeks to arrange a visa and any climbing permits. Zaw slumped back in his seat. Who cares how he did it, he mused. What I want to know is how come we got stuck with the job of taking care of him. I thought you'd like this kind of thing, said Pemba. After all, if Burnmaster travels around Nepal looking for Yeti, it's our job to stay on his tail, so you'll get to go traveling like you want to. Zaw rolled his eyes the same way he had watched humans do when they were feeling exasperated. I've already been around Nepal, so there's nothing more for me to see, he said. But that's beside the point because this Burnmaster guy is not gonna travel around Nepal, he's gonna head straight to the nearest mountain to start searching for Yeti. Which means we're gonna freeze our butts off following this dumb human while he gets excited about bear tracks in the snow because he thinks they're Yeti footprints. Hey, if you're going to freeze your butt off, what about me? Complained Pemba. I haven't got any fur on my backside to keep it warm. Yeah, well, it sucks to be human, Zaw muttered. Not my problem. At least I don't have to worry about getting number 2 stuck to my fur when I use the John, replied Pemba with a backward glance at the brooding Yeti in the rear of the car. Abby was covering her ears with her furry white hands and humming determinedly to herself. When the talking stopped, she put her hands down and said, excuse me, have either of you noticed that there is a lady present? Is this what you're going to be like the whole time? Depends on how long this whole time is, Zaw said, because I don't want to have to listen to you complain all the time, Abby added. I don't want to complain all the time, but the reality is that I have better things to do than this, Zaw said. Sometimes I think everything would be a lot easier if the council just told the world that we exist. And with barely a pause, Zaw wound down the rear window with a few rapid turns of the handle and yelled, "The Yeti are real. We're over here, come and get us." Abby was slightly smaller than her brother, but she was incredibly fast and strong by human standards. With lightning-quick motions, she spun around in her seat in the front of the car, grabbed Zaw by the scruff of his neck and flung him down on the back seat. His look of surprise was quickly replaced with a careless chuckle. Pulling the hood of her jacket tightly over her head, Abby scanned the area around their car to see if her brother's yells had attracted any attention. In the distance, there were people moving around near the airport exit doors, but nobody appeared to have noticed her brother's rant. They were busy talking and loading luggage into parked taxis. Turning back, her blue eyes blazed in the darkness of the car, and she hissed, "What do you think you're doing?" Zaw sighed and sat up. "Trying to make our lives easier," he said. "If the world knew that we are real, we wouldn't have to sneak around all the time wearing these stupid clothes. I'm covered in fur, I don't need to wear clothes." "You think I like getting my toe claws caught in my shoes?" Abby asked. Zaw looked sullen. "You never complain." "I never complain because I know that there is no point complaining," she replied. "So what do you want to do, Zaw?" asked Pemba. "Post a video of yourself on the internet, sort of. Hello world, my name is Zaw. I'm a real live Yeti and I live in the Himalayas." Zaw's face brightened. "Yeah, that's not a bad idea," he said. Abby shook her head and replied, "I think it's a terrible idea." "I agree," said Pemba. "The last thing you want to do is tell the world that you exist. Before you know it, you'll have scientists climbing all over the Himalayas looking for you, and when they find you," Zaw cut him off mid-sentence and said, "they're never going to find Shangri-La. And when they find you," Pemba continued, "they'll put you in a cage and do terrible science experiments on you for the rest of your life. And the governments of the world will cover the whole thing up, even the good ones. Trust me, I'm a human, so I know how humans think. Come on, I'm a lot stronger than any human and you know it," Zaw sneered. "No scientist is ever going to catch me, or any other Yeti for that matter." "But are you stronger than 100 humans?" asked his sister. "Or 1,000, in case you forgot, there are 7 billion humans in the world and only a few thousand Yeti. We're completely outnumbered. And remember, the humans killed off the Neanderthals 30,000 years ago." Pemba felt compelled to defend his species. That's never been proven, he observed for the record. Abby blinked her blue eyes at him. Yeti history books have records of it, she countered. Well, Pemba conceded, it's never been proven by a human anyway. Abby glanced back at her brother. You've gone awfully quiet back there, she said. Zaw sighed. I'm just imagining spending the rest of my life sitting in an old crappy car like this one, waiting in a car park like we are now, and doing some silly mission like this one. This is going to be the sum total of my life, he complained. You're just in a bad mood because we're at the airport, right? Asked Pemba. Maybe, Zaw grumbled, absently scrolling through the song list on his MP3 player. Maybe not. What would you understand anyway? You can get on a plane and travel to wherever you want. But me, I'm stuck here in Nepal because if I try and board a plane, I'll be arrested for being a non-human. Pemba tried to lighten things up. If you want, I can try and get you on a plane by pretending you are my pet monkey, he said helpfully. Both of the Yetis looked at Pemba sharply and growled, That's not funny. Sorry, replied Pemba with a half-hearted smile. Abby turned back to her brother. I know how you feel, Zaw. I'm trapped here too, remember. I wish I could do all the things that humans can do, but that's just not how it is for us. Zaw looked at her darkly. No, you don't know how I feel, he muttered. Not really. You're happy here in Nepal. You're happy living in Shangri-La. But and then the young, rebellious Yeti's voice trailed off as he fought with his conflicting emotions. Then he sighed and said, I just want to get out of here. I don't want to spend the rest of my life living in the mountains. I have dreams, you know. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I know, one day, Zaw, his sister said softly. Just then, the airport exit doors opened, and a man who looked like the guy in the photograph emerged carrying a backpack. Pemba sat up straight in the driver's seat and briefly consulted the photograph again. After a rapid comparison to the man standing near the airport exit, Pemba was sure he had the right person. Hey, I reckon that's our guy, he said. Yeti eyes are sharper than a human's, particularly in the dark. Yes, that's the guy in the photo, said Abby. That's Burnmaster. He moved through the throng of people milling around a dozen parked taxis. Pemba and Abby watched closely, and even Zaw leaned forwards to see what was going on. After a few moments, there was no doubt that the huge islander and the three teenagers were following Burnmaster. They appeared to be traveling as a group. I thought this Burnmaster guy was traveling alone, said Zaw, but it looks like he's brought his kids with him and a giant. Pemba shrugged. It doesn't matter, he said. It'll be easier for us to keep track of him if he's traveling with a group, especially with that massive man. Can't miss him in a crowd. Yeah, but why would he bring 3 kids with him on a Yeti hunting expedition? Asked Zaw. This guy is totally whack if you ask me. Nobody asked you, Abby replied tartly, and could you please not use those words? It makes my fur stand on end. What? Zaw said innocently. Yeti hunting? Abby looked horrified at how blasé her brother was about such things. Zaw, I'm serious. What's the big deal? Zaw said with a laugh. People can hunt for us all they want, they're never going to find us. Over near the parked taxis, Burnmaster concluded an agreement with a man who began piling their luggage into the back of the taxi. The blonde girl started to fuss with how her bags were packed into the trunk. Then they all squeezed into the taxi one at a time. Pemba ignored the conversation between the 2 Yetis and turned the ignition key. When the old engine sputtered to life, the 2 Yetis shut up. They're on the move, Pemba said. The 15-year-old Nepalese boy steered the car through the airport car park and after the departing taxi. When they drove past the people milling around the airport exit, Zaw and Abby sank down in their seats a little and pulled their jacket hoods more firmly over their furry faces. Despite his earlier bravado, Zaw quickly wound up his window and watched the humans drift by from behind the dusty glass.
That is the end of this chapter. To listen to the next chapter on YouTube or to purchase the digital ebook from Amazon, see the links in the description.